here, the Frugal Crafter, and I got something fun in the mail this week. I got the brand new Spectrum Noir Aqua markers, and it was so funny because the folks at Hallmark Scrapbook reached out to me last week and asked me if I'd like to try these, and previous to that, I got probably 5 emails from viewers wondering what I thought of these and if I was going to do any tutorials on them, and the first person that contacted me, I hadn't even heard of these, and so I looked them up and they look fantastic. So what they sent me was the Spectrum Noir Aqua case marker rack, and these I think are the exact same as what they have for the other Spectrum Noirs. They look awfully close. Maybe they're a little different, but it seems to me that any markers would fit in this case. But this holds 48, and their price is $17. I think it's normally about $25. Don't quote me on that. It's right in that ballpark. And then they sent me all 4 of the 12 packs of the Spectrum Aqua markers, and they come in these little clamshell packages, and I put mine in the case already. But I really think that'd be a great way to store them if you like to craft on the go, because taking the case around might be a little bit cumbersome. So just wanted to let you know, you may prefer just to keep them right in the case they come in, rather than getting the additional case. Or, you know, you can always put them in whatever you like. But anyway, I'm going to show you how I made this card and the techniques I used, and I'm also going to show you how I made this little sample here. So we're going to do some stamping techniques in this video, but I'll do another video with more painting techniques with it if you're curious on that too, because watercolor markers are very popular. And if you don't have these, please feel free to follow along with whatever watercolor markers you have, whether they're Crayolas or one of the art style markers. So what I'm working on is watercolor paper, and I've die cut this to this shape, and this is just a 90-pound hot press watercolor paper, which means it's smooth. I really think you could probably use cardstock. The colors won't blend quite as well, but it will work pretty well. And I'm going to use a couple stamps that I have that are kind of like the shadow style stamps, and this is an old set from Stampin' Up. It was one of their you know, one of those special promotion stamps. So if you don't have these, find something that's similar. It doesn't have to be exact. But what we're going to do is actually color on the rubber here. Oh, by the way, I'll put links below to everything I've mentioned here, and that way you can research for yourself a little bit more and see what you think. I'm going to zoom in a little bit here so you can see my surface a little better and my stamp a little better. And I am going to use my markers to color right on the rubber, and I'm going to use 3 different shades of pink. I have Scarlet, Blossom, and Begonia. And I'm going to start in with my lightest color, which is this Blossom, which is also more of a pure color. I'm just going to go in and color most of it. Alright, just like that. And then I'm going to go in with the Begonia, which is my next color. Add a little bit more of that to the center. And then I think I'll just go in with the Scarlet here and there. I noticed I didn't get some on the tip, so I want to make sure I have everything. Now I'm going to use a bottle of water. Right here, just a spray bottle. I'm going to move my paper out of the way here. I'm just going to give it a squirt. And that's going to help the ink kind of blend when I stamp it down. And I'm just going to stamp it on my card here. There we go. And now while the ink is still wet, I'm going to grab a water brush, or you can use a brush, just dip it in water, that's fine. And I'm just going to go and help blend it a little bit. So the cool thing about this is that your stamping can actually look like a painting. Look how easy that blends. Now part of the fact that it blends really easy, because reds typically don't blend very easily, is that I'm working on watercolor paper, and this is just a hot press watercolor paper. This is the Fabriano Studio. I like it because it's very inexpensive, but you know, whatever watercolor paper you have should be fine. If it's really rough though, it might be tough to get it to press down on the paper really well. We're going to do the same thing with this stamp, except I'm going to be adding some green to this since it has a stem on it. And actually, let me show you this. I can just go ahead and sketch in a stem of the green, and I can even blend it out with like a lighter green. So that was moss, and this is olive. And I'm just going to go right on top of the green, and I'm just going right next to it and just kind of working it out. So I get a nice little shadow and highlight there. Isn't that pretty? So you can totally freehand. Well, if I want to freehand maybe like a blade of grass here, I could do that. Let me go in with the dark first and then blend it out. I like to do that. Oh, it's got a really fine nib, see that? So if you are looking for markers and you're a scrapbooker, look how like nice and fine those lines are with that. That's one thing I noticed with a lot of stamping markers, the finer tip is actually like a bullet tip. And sometimes it's what you want and sometimes it isn't. So, you know, everybody has their own unique needs when they buy supplies. So if you never scrapbook and you never have the need to write, that might not be an important factor. If you like to scrapbook or maybe you like to hand write your greetings, then that might be something that you want to keep in mind. Going into my colors here. You don't have to use 3 colors. You can use fewer. You can use more. Just try not to go on top of the green with your pink. If you do, you can scribble it on a piece of scrap paper to help clean it up. Now this tip is kind of rough, so it makes me a little concerned that, you know, I want to make sure I don't abrase the tips of the markers. I'm just going to give that a little squirt there. And I think I'll just put that down a little bit lower. You know, I should put a scrap paper underneath so I don't stamp my work surface. My cat has been, because my upstairs table is kind of new, for those of you who followed along, my cat has been sleeping on my mat here, and I've been noticing cat hairs. Oh my goodness, I'm going to be the crazy cat lady. So I might have to just take my mat right down. Maybe the cat won't want to lay on my table if it doesn't have a felt mat there. You can see how easy that will blend around. I like this watercolory look. If it's a little too crazy looking for you, you don't have to do it. All right, and now the center here, I've actually got a little stamp that you could do the center with. And I hope this video isn't taking too long. I always feel bad when I feel like I'm just like, blah, 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 craft, craft, craft. And then I'm like, oh yeah, people have to sit through this? Hopefully they don't mind. You know what I do sometimes? I'll actually put like I'll find a playlist of videos on, or a channel. I'll go to like their uploads and I'll just hit play and I will, let's just stamp it without spraying it and see what that looks like. And I'll just let it go so I can have the chatter in the background. Now that, you can hardly see the ink there, can you? But watch this, I think when I put the, when I use the brush with the water in it, I think that's gonna make it come to life. It does it, kind of like a paint by number. You remember those when like you would, not paint by number, magic paintbrush, where they'd be like, you just take water and you brush over it and the painting would come to life. You remember when you were a kid, those? That's what it reminds me of. But it's not quite dark enough, but no, don't fear. Look what we can do. I'm gonna take that dark kind of mustardy yellow, and on my stamping block, I'm just gonna scribble out a little bit. And then I'm gonna pick it up with my paintbrush, like it's a palette, and drip a few drops in there. I really like the look of that. Maybe I want a little bit of brighter yellow in there too. I think I'll do that as well. So it's nice to have that, to know some of these techniques. And of course you could try it with whatever markers you have, but if you don't and you're looking for some markers, these are really nice. I've been really having fun playing with these. Now you may be looking at this and say, geez, you know, I wish I didn't put all that water on there because now I feel like it's just one big blob and I can't see any definition. Well, remember when I was telling you about the fine tips on these pens? Okay, now actually this stamp set has some like outlines that I could stamp on top. There's something about this set though, I have a really hard time lining that up right, so I'm not going to do that. I'm going to use this pen and this is weird, I'm getting used to this desk as you've probably noticed. I'm going to go in with this pen and I'm just going to go ahead and draw some of my lines in there, okay? So I can have a little bit more definition. I'm not going to draw every little petal because our eyes don't see every petal. Our eyes, you know, and I've talked about this before in my painting tutorials, we see a few select details and the rest is just an impression. You know, just put a few details in there. And if it's too harsh, well, we're on watercolor paper, so we can go right in there and soften it. There, I think that adds quite a bit more definition already, but if I want, I can go in with one of these other colors and I can add a little bit of shadow here and there. I really like watercolor, I like all markers, but the nice thing about watercolor markers, you don't have to have as many because you can blend the colors so easily and you can always just re-wet it with a little bit of water. It seems like it's just much more forgiving than an alcohol marker. Maybe it's just because I'm a watercolorist and I have more of a natural inclination to that type of media, but I like that you can get a nice big range of colors with not a lot of markers. Okay, and it's probably why they only have 48 colors in the collection. And so you can keep blending and going back and forth until you have exactly what you want. So another thing you can do with these markers, which is kind of fun, is that you can use the little bulb squeezy thing. This one's from Stampin' Up, and I think it's discontinued, but it's the exact same thing as a Tim Holtz one. So, you know, you can use, if you have that in your stash, they're compatible, which is really nice. Oops, sorry about that, I jiggled my table. So what I'm going to do is use some of these colors that I've already used and put a little background in, and I'm going to grab my scrap paper so that I don't get that all over my felt, which is covered with cat hair already. I'm a mess. What can I say? And here's a tip. When you use this, wipe the tip with your finger before you put especially a yellow marker in there. Otherwise, you may end up with yellow. You might end up with color on your yellow marker. And so you just kind of gently squeeze the bulb and you get that lovely background. I think that's pretty. I haven't used the Tim Holtz one. Somebody told me that the bulb was kind of stiff. So I don't know. If you guys have used the Tim Holtz one, because that one's more available, let me know what you think of it, because I'm curious. I'm not going to buy one because I already have this, but it's just good to know. I think I'll put a little bit of that mustard color, even though it's a little harsh. I'll use some of that in there too. And so I had to take the inner sleeve out of this so that it would fit, in case you're, you know, using them. You're like, this won't fit, Lindsay. The hole is too small. You gotta unscrew the cap. Unscrew the cap and pull that inner part out. I think they have the Tim Holtz one at Hallmark Scrapbook if you want to get everything at one place. It was funny because I've talked before about a store that I really loved that went out of business called Custom Crops, and they actually, the people at Custom Crops recommended shopping at Hallmark Scrapbook, so I thought that was also another nice nice point in their favor. Okay, so now I think I want to blend that background out a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean my water brush. I need to refill it actually. It's getting empty. I'm just going to go ahead and lightly brush some water over that, and it will soften up the ink that I've sprayed on there. And just give it a little bit more of a painterly look. And if this is, you know, too messy for you, you don't have to do it. But I like it. Look, I'm going to go over some of the green on the bottom. Let that blend. It's just a pretty look. And then if I wanted to, like, you can also spray into the wet color. So let's try that. Let's try it with this lighter olive green. That way, if it doesn't go well, it's just gonna be very subtle. It's always if you're not quite sure how it's gonna go, stay a little bit lighter. I would spray some of that. Oh, I love it. Look at that. It's such a soft look because it's blending in with the wet, with the place I've already wet. Oh, I love that. Look at that. All right, now when that dries, I'm just going to stamp a happy birthday and put it on a craft card base. We still have some time, so I think what I'm going to do, we'll set that aside to let it dry. Let's do some stamping on the with the waterproof ink, and then we'll color it with the markers. That'll be kind of cool. I'm just going to do this all in one block just to kind of save a little time. So that's something you can do. You can double mount your stamps. I only keep a couple blocks upstairs here because I don't have a lot of space. I'm working in my office, which I do, you know, I do all my officey stuff in. It's so chilly down in my basement. It's like 47 degrees. So I've been working upstairs because of that, and I just don't have a lot of room. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp my daisies here. Stampy, stampy, stampy. I'm feeling like I've had a sore throat, and this has been a rough winter. It's been so yucky, and I feel like I just still have not quite gotten over that sore throat that I had a few weeks ago. I'm gonna use, now this pen really isn't fine enough, but you know, we're gonna make do with what we have because I'm not running downstairs again. I'm not gonna pause it to do that. So I'm just gonna use this waterproof black pen, and I'm just gonna put in a little stem. And this set didn't have any blades of grass or leaves, so I'm just gonna sketch in a few. And I'll do the same thing over here so they can kind of match a little bit better. Oh yeah, and this has little violets. So I'm gonna put some little violets in here. Let's do that. I'll do the outline one so that I can color it. Let me just stick that in the corner right there on that mount that I've already used. Get my ink back here. We'll do some violets. Oh, that's pretty. I haven't used this stamp before actually. I like this little set. It was one of those, I went to a stamp party and it was one of those freebies. You know how they do the freebies sometimes? You spend like $20 or whatever and you get like a free stamp set. That's what that was. And it's really pretty. I like those ones that have like kind of the the shadow stamp so I can make a really quick tag. In fact, I used that on my rosy paper bag favors the other day. If I forget to put a link, which quite frankly I usually do, it's right on my channel, probably the video right before this one if you're looking for it. Alright, so I put some little stems in there, and I'm just trying to keep it really light since this pen is a little bit thicker than what I would use normally. And I want to stamp a sentiment in there. And I think I'm going to do happy birthday because I got to tell you, I told you that I was doing, that I had put a lot of my cards in a place to sell them, a little booth I rented at an antique mall, and cards have been selling like hotcakes. I cannot even believe it. And happy birthday is the most popular theme, so I better restock a bit. Alright, so this is just a watercolor paper I've die cut. Now I'm running out of time, so we are going to quickly color these in. Let me do a violet first, and because I might not get a chance to do all of this, so what I'm going to do is just put in some darker purple, and I'm going to work this kind of quickly because purples are one of those colors that is more difficult to blend, and I'm going in with this lighter color, which is an orchid color. And I'm just pulling, I'm going over the purple, just like we would with alcohol markers. And I'm pulling the color out. Now for an extra highlight, I'm going to go right in with my water. Actually, you know what? This brush is a little finer. I've got this tiny little cat's tongue brush. I'm going to use this. And I'm just going to pull the color out to the edge. Oh, doesn't that blend nice? Look at that. Such a pretty soft look. Can you see that? I'm going to bring that up a little closer. Can you see that there? I don't want to bring it above where my lighting is. I've got a very precarious little system here. I'm just going to give it a little bit of that bright yellow in the center. Just like that. That is such a pretty little violet. I just love it. I think it's so lovely. I'll show you that one more time. What do we have for time? We've got some time here. I like to keep this under 20 minutes so I don't have to edit it. So dark right around the edges. Then we're going to do the light. These caps do come off a lot easier than the new Spectrum Noir alcohol markers I've found. And they might have changed it too. You never know. You know, but I did find that the alcohol markers, the caps were tougher to remove. Look at that. They blend so well. And purple's one of those colors that is tough to blend. Oh, I like that. All right, I want to do one of the flowers, one of the daisies before we go, just so you can see that. And why don't we start with the middle? I'm going to do a bunch of yellow in the middle, and then I'm going to do a little bit of okay, I see the green cap. Where'd my green marker's still in that other contraption. Let's do a little bit of this yellow. We'll just tap on a little bit of that. We'll soften it with our brush. So I switched over just a brush that I'm dipping in my water bucket, so you can see you don't have to have a water brush. And, you know, try it with whatever markers you have already. And if you're considering these markers, I'm going to say go for it. They're lovely. I'm going in with some of this nice dark first. I'm going to go in with my next lighter color. And I'm going to add this color, which is kind of like a corally color, which we used before. This is kind of fun. It's a fun little stampy play day that we're having here. I'm going to just add a little bit of that right around the center, and we're going to quickly blend with our brush because reds are also hard to blend. So we'll do that. So you can see that, you know, you can get a really nice painterly look without much experience, without many supplies. I do hope you try it. I really enjoy the color palette. They come in 4 different sets with colors that are designed to work well together. I want to add a little bit of color, a little more controlled, in a controlled fashion, so I'm going to scribble it on a block and paint like a watercolorist. Here. I'm not a watercolorist, I play one on YouTube. I'm going to add a little bit of color here. Actually, I was a watercolorist well long before I was a rubber stamper. Okay, oh, I just love the way these colors blend. Well, I hope this gave you some good ideas. I'll put a link below to Hallmark Scrapbook. I want to thank them again for their generous donation of supplies, and hopefully this helped you guys that were interested in these markers. Thank you so much for watching. Please give me a thumbs up and subscribe if you like these videos. I'll show you the finished little samples here. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, happy crafting!